So I got invited to the Borderlands 4 Fan Fest event for 2025 in LA over this past weekend, which was June 21st, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it. So to start, to be totally candid, while I was technically invited, I did do the general admission route. So I followed the Twitter link that they posted a month ago and filled out their little application to get invited, and then I got an email a week before the event that I was on the invitee list, which was really cool. I'm so excited that I actually got to go. I was not VIP, I was not one of the many YouTubers there because there was a ton of YouTubers there and streamers and all of that. Did I talk to any of them? No. So sorry. So first things first is I live about 2 hours away from Los Angeles, give or take traffic. So we left here about 7, not 7, oh my god. No, we left here about 9:30-ish. The event was supposed to start at 12 p.m. and it said it was going to take us an hour and a half to get there. Not too bad. We stopped and got coffee because of course. And we got there right at I think it was 11:40 when we pulled into the venue. There was still a ton of parking available, which was awesome. I'm really glad it wasn't directly in the city. It technically is in LA and it is very close to the city, but it wasn't in what I imagine as LA city. I lived in LA, so been there, done that, don't want to do it again. But like I said, we pulled in, we parked, super easy parking. We were literally parked right in front, even though I said we got there at 11:40. The event started at technically 12. And a part of that initial email that I received that I was going, they did say that parking was free for the venue, but it was going to be very limited and that they had buses running for people that didn't want to risk potentially parking at the venue and getting there and not having parking and all that. But we decided to just drive in and see how it was. If anything, they did have a valet service as well, which I honestly, at that point, if we had gotten there and there was no parking left, but they still valet, I probably would have done the valet. But like I said, they had ample parking. I do think the email kind of maybe frightened a little bit of people out of parking at the venue, because in the email it stated that it was going to be very tight on parking, or very limited parking. So, yeah. So I totally get why a lot of people did take the bus. I think there was 2 buses running maybe. And then by the time that we got out of our car, we walked up and basically, I think I have pictures of it. Anything I have pictures or video of, I will be throwing up, just so you know. But basically you walk up to a big fence and there's 2 sides of the fence. One side, I think, was VIP, and then the other side was the general admission, which, like I said, we were under general admission. We were basically right outside the fence when we got there. There was still, I want to say maybe 100 people ahead of us, at least in the outside portion of the line. I'm not sure how deep the line went inside at the very start of the event, because, like I said, we weren't there. In the email, it did say you could get there an hour early or an hour beforehand to get in line, but not more than that. So, we were on time. I wish we were a little more early, though. So, once 12 p.m. rolled around, the line did start moving. They got a lot of people in line into the building very quickly. There wasn't really a whole lot happening outside. There was a giant wall decal of Borderlands 4 Fan Fest, which was really cool. And then they had 2 inflatable monster guys that my husband told me what they were called. But the only Borderlands monster I can retain is Skag. It wasn't a Skag, it wasn't though, so, but they were cool. I think I had videos of them. And they were something you saw right as you pulled in, which was fun. But other than that, there was literally nothing happening outside. And then at 12:30, the line kind of stopped moving. At that point, we were almost at the door to get in. I think we were maybe 10, maybe 15 people back of getting into the door, physically past the door. But at that time, they let us know that they were at cap. They were at full capacity. And they would not be letting anyone else in until they got some people out, which is why I'm I wish we would have been literally 30 minutes earlier, and I think we would have been golden. We would have been inside starting our day, and it would have been fantastic. But it is what it is. I do not blame the company at all for us having to wait outside. It was mostly fine until the sun started coming out, and then, it got hot. I got a little sunburnt. But again, totally okay. They did pass out waters, which I thought was really awesome. And I was joking that like, oh, this is my first free thing for the day. And everyone in line was really cool. The vibes were really good overall. And I do want to give a little shout out to the doorman. He was like so funny. He just kept cracking jokes at everybody and being like, like, you should have got here earlier, I guess. And we were like, yeah, I know. But eventually we were able to get inside. Inside there was a table at the very front where they had GA check-in and VIP check-in. Like I said, we weren't VIPs. If you were a VIP, I think you just literally like checked in at that desk, like walked right up, checked in, and then you were able to get into the venue, which was really cool. I think the streamers and the VIPs were different categories because there were still people checking in under VIP, and then I believe the streamers were already there, like, in the venue, I want to say maybe an hour ahead even. So that's cool for them. I hope that they got to do things around the convention floor. Not the convention floor, but around the venue before they had to start streaming, because, like, there was a lot of really cool things to do, which we will get into, but I hope that they did have that opportunity to go, like, do things before they had to start streaming. But like I said, I think the streamers were separate, and then from what I could tell, a lot of the VIP were actually some of the bigger cosplayers that I've seen in the Borderlands community, like, pop up multiple times. And then I think some other YouTubers and stuff. Honestly, there was not really a ton of people that, like, I personally recognized, other than, like, other people I have met in the Borderlands community, which is, I love them. They're fantastic. Anyway, like I said, we were GA. By the time we got in, they were not really checking people in at that table anymore. It was more, you kind of just followed the wall, and then there was one little switchback. I feel like once we were inside, it started moving a lot quicker. We did miss Randy Pitchford giving his, like, welcoming speech, and then I believe they did drop the, not cinematic trailer, gameplay trailer? They dropped a trailer there, which we did miss, which was kind of a bummer, just as, like, that would have been a cool thing to experience, but like I said, it's all good. It's our bad for getting there late. But then once we were in, all of the staff was, like, really, really nice. They were super cool. They were talking to people, just, like, chatting. One of them walked me to the bathroom. Love her. Thank you. I had to pee so bad. And then we got into that switchback, and once we were in that switchback, they started checking people's names off, and it was by name. I don't think my ticket was scanned at any point that they did send out, which is kind of funny. Fine. I almost liked more that they had my name, and they, like, just looked it up and checked it off, and I was like, ooh, I'm on a list. Which then they gave you a wristband. Have I been wearing this the whole time? No. They give you a wristband. I don't know if we were supposed to take these home. But they ended up with us, so oops. I like the way they smell. They smell like plastic. And I love that. Anyways, this is what that looks like. It's fine. It's very similar to, like, any wristband you would get at a concert that has, like, the light ups. Like, if you went to the Eras tour, they had similar wristbands, or I've definitely seen other concerts have them. But, you know, the wristbands and light up and everything. Oh, it does say, please return me. I'm reusable. There's no one collecting them, though. Anyway, the Borderlands symbol on here, though, is just a sticker, which is fun. Yeah, and I got number, this is not mine. I left mine out there. But I got number 333, so that tells me that at least 333 people were there. Basically, the rundown with these was that these were your ticket to actually playing Borderlands 4. They set them up backwards, apparently, so red meant that you have, like, a half hour or so. Like, it would light up red, and at that point it was kind of supposed to be like a, okay, noted, it's gonna be my turn soon-ish. Yellow was supposed to be, like, stop what you're doing, or, like, wrap it up, you're coming up soon. And then green was like, you need to drop what you're doing and come play, like, right now, or you're gonna miss your opportunity. Which, a little bit of spoiler, ours never flashed red. It flashed, like, a very yellow at one point, and then an hour later it flashed kind of a more orange, and then it went green. So it was kind of a weird system. It seemed like they also knew that. Again, I'm not blaming them for anything. Like, there was just kind of confusion across the board, in my opinion, with that. It was kind of cool. I was under the impression that we were gonna like walk in and the first thing you did was play the game, and then you would go and like look at merch and like whatever else they had there. That is not what happened. Like I said, we got our wristbands. Once everyone was checked in, they let a group of 40 people into the venue, which was so much cooler than I thought it was going to be. Oh my gosh. So first things first, as you like basically turn the corner, you are now on a yellow carpet. It walks up to one of those big banners that had Borderlands 4 all over it, and we took some pictures there because of course. There were some other people taking pictures there as well. Super cool photo op moment. And then as you turned to your left, there was a like reboot, not station, but basically like portal, I guess. So basically you like went through this portal and you were getting digistructed back. You were rebooting. It's a cute picture.
We're respawning.
And then you enter the main area. Dude, this area was so... This was like so not what I was expecting. I am a person that has gone to San Diego Comic-Con literally my whole life. When I would say this is on par, if not better, than a lot of the things I have done there. Like, it was so good, and I don't know why. My bangs, dude. I want to say the first thing you see, but like there was so much to look at immediately as you entered the venue. There was like a giant tower in the middle. I don't know, everything was just so like you went through that portal and you were in the game. I love when companies commit, dude. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. They had a giant statue of, I think, the Watcher. I'm not positive. I think he's from the new game though, and it was huge and menacing, and I was like, dang, okay. They also on the left had one of the gaming stations that you would go to if your wristband went off. I want to say they had like maybe like 10 sets of 4 consoles, kind of table areas in that section at least. And then the other section, I really couldn't tell, and I honestly wasn't sure if that was like for streamers or what, because it was a very different setup. It was like in its own little room, and they had like chairs and everything, whereas the other one was just standing. It felt more like if you were at like a GameStop and just like walked up to the demo and started playing kind of thing. But it was cool because it was in like its own little section. Also along that same wall was the stage, and then the all of the streamers had their like setup on the very end of the room. I don't know if I got any footage of that, but I thought that was really cool as well. Again, by the time when we got in there, there wasn't like a ton of people up there anymore. There was like, I don't know, maybe like 10 people like kind of scattered throughout, and then there was a few streamers on the bottom. It was a very interesting setup, but it was like cool. They kept like looking over and being like I was like, I don't know. And then on the right side, first things first was the food, which was all you can eat. And then they had AI station and a like crafting area. And then it was that other section for playing the game. And then at the very back, kind of middle, was they had 4 statues of all of the new player characters from the next game. Oh my god. They looked phenomenal. They looked so good. They had a little side room that had a bunch of just like cool Borderlands things. It was almost like a mini museum in there, and it was really cool to look at. They had stuff from the movies, they had stuff from like the older games, and like just anything they had over there. They also had a couple display cases of like different Borderlands merch that they've had throughout the years. They had like the Tiny Tina and Android, and they had a few comic books, they had the vinyls, a lot of really cool stuff. They had like a little Moe's statue that I just kept staring at because I'm in love with Moe's. And yeah, that was super cool. They had a Claptrap also statue over there. And then they did have another little gaming section right in the middle there, but I don't know what that was about. I didn't really pay attention. But I am going to now walk you through the events as we did them, because that's just gonna suit my memory the best. So basically the very first thing that we did was you walk in and they had one of those little games. I don't know what those games are called. I tried looking it up and the best thing that's coming up is Drop Disc Game. So it was that game where it has a bunch of pegs and you drop your thing in and depending on where it lands, you'll get a different prize. We saw that people were getting one of two things. You could either get a Borderlands for Psycho Mask or a Borderlands. No, not even Borderlands. You could get a Butterfinger. We both did it. We both earned ourselves a Butterfinger and a sticker. I thought this was funny. It is the salted caramel Butterfinger, and this was the first time I ever had one, and it was not my favorite, which kind of sucks, because I love salted caramel, but it was really, like, it was just so sweet. Like, we shared one, and I was like, oh, that's enough for me, I'm good. Like, I had, like, 2 bites. Very sweet. That was the first thing we did. It was literally, like, we walked in and kind of got in line, and I was like, okay, like, we'll see, like, and it went really quickly. After that, we walked over to another booth, kind of past the big centerpiece that they had, and again, kind of just got in line. I was, like, trying to peek around, and I was like, I think it's a bracelet making thing, which is kind of weird, but, like, I think it's bracelet making. We got in line for that. While we were in line, we met back up with a couple people that were outside with us in line, and we were just chatting with them. They were really cool. Turns out they had, like, tested the original Borderlands game, which I thought was, like, so cool. Also, while we were in line, we were talking to them, and we were like, yeah, we keep seeing people walking around with Nerf guns, and I really want to know where they got these Nerf guns, because, like, where's the Nerf gun from? I love Nerf. And the other guys were like, yeah, I don't know. And then we were just, like, standing there, and one of them was like, let me go ask this lady right here, because she had one with her. And he was just, like, chatting. I was kind of waiting for my husband to walk back over, and he came back with it in hand, and he was like, she gave it to us. Apparently it was part of a raffle that happened earlier. They already ran out. She was like, I already have one. I don't really want another one. Do you guys want it? And he was like, sure. So he took it, and then we were like, man, that's so cool that you got that. And he was like, do you guys want it? And we were like, yeah, if you don't want it. And he was like, yeah, no, I'd really have no need for it. And, like, my husband was wearing his, like, part of his original Psycho cosplay, and he was like, you guys dressed up, and, like, you guys have it. And we were like, are you sure? It's really cool. Are you sure? Is this, like, a prototype Nerf gun? And he was like, yeah. So we got that, and this is that. It's so cool. I'm so stoked that we ended up with one of these. And, like, this was the first thing that we got to. And I was like, is your life made? Are we done? We can just go home? And my husband was like, yeah, we're good. We're done. I was like, cool. We didn't actually leave, of course, but, like, dude, it is so cool. It is one of the gel blaster ones. So you fill up this portion with the, like, Orbeez, basically, and it shoots, and, like, oh, that slide's so nice. It's automatic. It's very strong. So my dog's ears twitch back there. It's super cool. And, like, this is not being sold currently. I don't think these have been announced yet. It is so cool. Take a look at the new Borderlands cosplay prop. Very cool. I'm obsessed. And, like, even the box, it was, like, all white. I was like, the box isn't even in production yet. This is, like, pre-production. So cool. So cool. This is so cool. Worth the drive right here. And it's so powerful. But then, after all of that, it was finally time to make our bracelets. It was a really interesting little station. Basically, they had a girl working there. You would pick out the colors that you wanted for your bracelet, and then any charms that you wanted, and you could go to a little table. They had these little, like, square bracelet making things. You would line everything up and then make your bracelet like that. It was very odd. I won't lie, kind of a weird thing for Borderlands to be doing, a, like, bracelet thing. Like, nothing about Borderlands says bracelet making to me. Even my husband was like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. And I was like, I can't wait to see these $10 boxes of, like, make your own Borderlands bracelet kit, friendship bracelets with, like, claptrap on it. You know the ones. I thought those were like so funny. And then you finished it. You didn't tie it off yourself. You basically put it back in the little thing, and then a girl came around and collected them all, and then you went and picked it up 20 minutes later. So we finished our bracelets. They came out really nicely. And that did take a little while. The line for that was kind of long. It was like literally long, but also it just like took a while to get through that line. The other thing that they had set up at that same station was, I think, a sort of bag making, maybe potentially shirt making place where you could like pick your decal and they would like put it onto a bag or a shirt. I saw everyone walking around with those bags and shirts. By the time we got up there though, they were done for the day. I'm so bummed. I missed the bag. I don't know why. I love a free bag. Okay? I love a free bag. I wanted one of those bags though. They were cool. They were cool. But yeah, that was that area. And then, like I said, just past that was the photo op area with the statues. They were super cool. When we originally got there was like a really long line to do that, so we kind of skipped it for a minute. And then by the time we were done with our bracelets and just like doing another lap, basically we walked back in the line. There was no line. So we jumped in line for that, got some really nice professional pictures taken. The guy was like really good. I could tell that he was actually a professional photographer and not just like some kid taking pictures. The photos turned out amazing. The statues look great. Peep my psycho Labubu. So really quickly, super sidetrack. I wanted to show off my psycho Labubu because I worked hard on this. The little mask. It looks fantastic. I got a few compliments on it. There's at least one girl that was like, dude, if you sell that on Etsy, I would totally buy that. Anyways, this is my little badass. We love him. He's got some keychains now too. He's got a cosplay tour from Borderlands 3 because we ended up with so many of these. Oh my gosh. And then I had some extra charms from the bracelet making kit thing that I threw on him that I will show you guys our bracelets later. But yes, I wanted to show him off really quickly because I'm very proud. After we took our pictures, we decided to go get a snack finally. By the time we walked over there wasn't a ton of stuff. There was a lot of cookies. I don't think there was anything that we missed food-wise, but it was a lot of cookies. And they did have a little cocktail station. I got Moxie's drink. I don't remember what it was called, but I got Moxie's drink, and it was phenomenal. It was so yummy. I would have drank like a whole thing of those. It was just like delicious. But they weren't limiting it, so you could go back and get more. I think they were non-alcoholic. I'm not positive on that. If they were alcoholic, it was like very minimal. I did not feel anything. And then, like I said, they did have just different like regular drink stations that you could get all throughout the menu. I think they had like Sprite, Coke, Dr. Pepper, and like water, and like diet versions of all of those same sodas. So that was really cool. I got a cookie to try. They had like cupcakes, cookies. They had like a purple thing that I could not figure out what it was. They had they weren't meatballs. I don't remember what they were called. Some other thing. There wasn't like a ton of like food. It was a lot of just like grazing kind of snacky foods, which was, I think, perfect for this event. You could just grab one, go walk around and do things, and then go grab some more snacks if you wanted to. Like I said, I ended up with one of the cookies. I didn't like it. It's fine. The cookie itself was very okay. They had these like printed, they weren't stickers, but like basically stickers on top of all of the cookies. And like you could literally peel it off. I ended up just peeling it off because I felt like I was eating paper. That kind of ruined the cookie, to be honest. But other than that, it was fine. Like, it was a very okay cookie. Back to being in line for the bracelets, though. That was the first time our bracelets went off. Like, 3 of ours flashed at the same time, and like I said, it was that like yellowy color. It wasn't really orange. They never flashed red, so we were all kind of like, well, I guess we'll wait and see what happens. Because it was supposed to be green, and that's when you're supposed to like drop what you're doing and go over so you can play the game. About an hour later, like I said, they started flashing again, and at that point it was already like 4:30, and the event was ending at 5, and we weren't really sure if they were going to start like not even letting people in to play the game, or like how that was going to work. So like how strict that 5 o'clock timeline was. So while we were grabbing our little snacks, we did the little drop game again. One another Butterfinger. While we were snacking, they had a rap duo come out, Joey Valance and the Bray. I have never heard of them before that night. But they were fun. They were a fun vibe. The crowd was kind of meh, but they were a lot of fun. They were like enjoying their set. It was a really short little set. It was like maybe 15-20 minutes. And I believe they were also playing like Borderlands music as well as their own music, which was kind of cool. They were just like hyping up the crowd. It was a lot of fun. While it was happening, we went over to the little AI studio that they had. We had no idea what it was. We kind of just walked up and we're like, what are you doing? And he was like, oh, it's like an AI photo thing. It'll like put you in the game. And we were like, oh, that sounds super neat. So we did it. They turned out kind of bad. We're just like, what do you expect for AI? My hair looks phenomenal. Everything else is kind of not it. So that was that. The guy was like, yeah, it makes the guys look really good, but all the girls always kind of look not great. I was like, okay. And then as we were finishing that up, our bracelet started flashing green, and literally at that time it was like 4:45. We were kind of really close. So we headed to the back corner area first. We asked the guy, we're like, hey, our bracelets are flashing, can we still play? And he was like, yeah, we're ending in like 2 minutes. So like that was like literally all he was giving us. Like there wasn't like a no, like sorry, we already cut it off, nothing. Just like he was very much giving me vibes of like he was hired to be there and didn't really care about the event itself, which is fine. He was doing his job, totally get that. But just like the energy was like, it's kind of a bummer. But then we walked over to the other section because we were like, well, maybe it'll be cooler. So we walked over and there were a few other people's bracelets who were also going off at the same time. And we were like, hey, are you still doing? And he was like, I'm gonna try to get you guys in. Even if it's just for like 5 minutes, I'm gonna try to get you guys in. And we're like, cool, okay. And he was like, we gotta sanitize everything real quick and then we will get you guys in. And we're like, sure. So they sanitized stuff. We got in. We got to play for like literally 5 minutes. The game looked gorgeous. I wish I could have filmed it for you guys, but they did not want people taking pictures or anything in there, or at least from what I could tell, they really didn't want people taking any pictures or video or anything, which is understandable, but like, oh my gosh, it looked so good. I was gonna buy the game kind of no matter what, but now I'm like actually looking forward to it, and like I was playing Vex. We love her, of course, and yeah, I'm really excited for the game. It looks really good. As soon as like 5 p.m. hit, someone was giving a closing announcement. I don't know if it was Randy. I don't know. Someone was giving a closing announcement. The guy came over, he's like, alright guys, I gotta put you. And we're like, yeah, totally fair, totally fair. He was super cool. Shout out to him. I was like, he works for Borderlands. He works for this company. Speaking of people that worked for the company, this thing was crawling with game developers. Like, everywhere we turned, there was like a little huddle of guys and like, or like a huddle of people just like talking, and like my husband was like, that's a game developer, that's a game developer, that's like the lead script director, that's the lead artist, or like just everyone was seemingly there, which was like really, really cool. They weren't, I don't want to say not the word like most inviting to talk to, but my husband like he wanted to say hi and like talk to them about the games, but also was trying to be respectful. So I don't think that's like on anyone or anything like that. It was just something I noticed, was that like I kind of wish they were maybe a little interactive with the people there, but totally okay. No one complimented my boo-boo, but they still seemed really cool. Like, I definitely made eye contact with a few of them and like waved and like they said hi and like that kind of thing. Very culture, really cool. But that was that. Also, like I said, there were a lot of streamers there. They were not really walking the floor seemingly. I think a few of them were, but not really. And then there were actually a really decent amount of cosplayers there. I was kind of under the impression that it really wasn't a cosplay event. That's just me. I think I read it wrong. Not like, you know, there's nothing physical to read. I got the wrong memo, I guess. Because my husband was like, should I like wear my whole cosplay? And I was like, I don't know, man. But it worked out. It worked out. We got a free Nerf gun. Hell yeah. And like all the cosplayers looked amazing. I didn't get to see them all together. I believe they did take photos for Instagram and that they were posted. I saw a few cosplayers that I definitely recognized from other events, and we ran into other people that like we went to cosplay events for Borderlands with, so that was really cool. They were not in cosplay though, and obviously neither were we, but yeah, that was really cool. I love seeing cosplayers at an event. I think it's great for them to like get the recognition that they deserve, and yeah, so it was really cool. But basically, like I said, at 5 they started getting people out of there. The venue just was cleared very, very quickly. We used the restrooms before we dipped, And yeah, that was pretty much it. We pulled out of the parking lot. The traffic was super easy, really easy getting out of the city again. We went and got Zonkow chicken, best food in LA. I'm so serious. If you like garlic, go there. It's so good. It was like the highlight of my day. And it was already a really good day. But yeah, that was the whole event. We did eventually go back to grab our bracelets. So they gave us them in these little bags, which I thought were darling. And then this is mine. I went with like, you know, the traditional colors. You got a tiny claptrap charm, a vault symbols charm, and then a Borderlands 4 psycho. Sorry, you cannot really see them. And then, yeah, these were the colors I picked, were white, black, and yellow. The beads seem nice, seem good quality. I can't tell if they're actually stone or not, but they had a lot of really cool beads. It was kind of hard to see them with the lighting. Yeah, that was my bracelet. I'm going to show you my husband's. It has his name on it, so I'm going to hold it wonky. But this is his bracelet. I did not ask him why he went with these colors. I should have though, but the pattern is gorgeous. 10 out of 10. And then he just put the Borderlands charm, which I do think that looks nice. And then I put the rest of the charms on my Labubu. They had like letters that looked like this that you could choose from. But yeah, that was that. Like I said, we got these little bags. We got the bracelets, we got the Nerf gun, they had little drink coasters, I grabbed them of course. They looked like this. I grabbed one of the last little cocktail napkins that they have, or had, it says Borderlands 4, a junk journal, so, you know, I had to pick it up. And then, like I said, we ended up with like 4 Butterfinger bars and 2 stickers. They ran out of stickers, can you believe it? Ugh. I will say one thing I really wish at this event though, initially, what I was expecting was that we would... Sorry, fluff up my hair. My goodness, it's just... I was expecting that on the way out we would get a goodie bag, potentially. There's a lot of stuff in there already, so, like, after we got in, my expectations, like, totally shifted. But initially, when I was thinking about things, I was like, okay, we're gonna get there, we're gonna play the game, we're gonna walk around, they're gonna have, like, some snacks, some drinks, and some, like, maybe a couple things to do, like a photo op, maybe something else, and then, like, a merch table. They did not have a merch table at all, which was kind of a bummer. Like, I probably would have bought, like, a Vex shirt or something. I made it so much worse. Just, like, something. My husband was like, I would have literally bought everything if they did have a merch table. But also, like, it's okay that they didn't. I wish that they had something that said FanFest 2025 for Borderlands. I don't know if they're going to continue to do these every year. If they do, like I said, I wish that they would have had that. They didn't. With that being said, I was under the anticipation. I was kind of under the impression that, like, on the way out, if we did get a goodie bag, it would just be, like, basically, like, the same little totes that they gave out, which I'm so sad. But the little tote, I don't know what it would say, maybe just Borderlands 4, whatever. A little tote with, like, the psycho mask, a shirt, and, like, a lanyard. All of the people working there had, like, lanyards from the event, and, like, oh, they looked so clean, and I wanted one, and I loved the staff shirts as well. They looked fantastic. But yeah, that was, like, kind of the only thing that was kind of a bummer, was that we didn't get any of that stuff. I did see some people had shirts that they had, like, won, or I don't know if they were part of that, like, press thing. And like I said, they had people that had gotten totes. But that was pretty much everything. I had a lot of fun. It was a really, really cool event. I would love to go back and be VIP someday, maybe. But yeah, it was really, really cool. I hope that they do events like this in the future. Even if it's just, like, something small. I don't know. Events are cool. Do more of this. I really, really liked that it was open to the general public. It wasn't, like, super crazy busy, which I was kind of worried about, that it was going to be really, really packed, which it wasn't, and I'm very happy that it wasn't. Of course, it would have been cool to play the game longer, but again, we were both kind of okay with, if we don't get to play the game, That's okay. We got to come to the event. We will get to play the game soon. You know, it's not like this is the only opportunity to play the game. Like I said, I go to Comic-Con every year, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna have some kind of Comic-Con presence. They have the last, like, 3 years. 2 years? I don't know. There have been years with Comic-Con that they have had things. Last year they had Moxie's Bar. So I'm hoping this year they'll have something as well, and I'll get to do that. And I kind of think if they do, we'll be able to play the game there as well. But yeah, that is everything that I got to do at the Borderlands 2025 Fan Fest. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. I'm really thankful that we got to do it. I hope that we get to do it again in the future, or that they have something similar. Let me know what you guys thought of this whole experience, and thank you so much for watching. I don't always put up videos like this, obviously. It's kind of a one-time deal, but I don't know, if you like me, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Also like the video so that I know that you liked it and watched it. Anyways, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. And you were getting, what do they call it in Borderlands? I know it's basically the same as rebooted, but it's not rebooted. Borderlands reboot, movie reboot already. Reboot station. What is it called? The New U station. Okay, I knew that, but like, what is it called? Digistruct.